I first had to find things that were actually conservative and not part of another ideology. As I explained last time, conservatism usually partners up with different ideologies. So a lot of conservative things are also nationalist. A lot of conservative things are also neoliberal. They're the same thing also in party politics. They in practice are the same people. So it took me quite some effort. I thought I would do this in 10 minutes. That was not the case. To find things that are properly conservative and that are not directly or easily identifiable with other ideologies. And to find ones that are actually up for discussion, that are not either self-evidently correct or self-evidently wrong, or let's say that there would be very little to discuss about. But I do have some. So let's talk about them. Starting, dear students, with the first one, which is eliminating the inheritance tax. This is not necessarily a proposal. Probably Mexico Libre has it, but I didn't check that. But it is something that Trump did in the United States. So most countries, including Mexico, have a tax on inheritance. Rich person, this usually has a certain threshold of money that you need to meet. So you need to be rich basically to get this tax. So a rich person dies, they have properties, they want to give them to their children, and that is taxed in most countries, including Mexico. It would be a very conservative idea to eliminate such a tax, because it would help, well, it would help families to preserve their standing in society. It would conserve the social position of people and their variety and all these things. Well, both from a social liberal and a socialist perspective, you would have an estate tax, because it would, well, it would reset things. But no, I'm not going to explain this any further. I want to know, what are some of the strengths that you could see of doing such a policy? What could be some of the good things that could come of eliminating an inheritance tax?
A better distribution of capital.
Why?
Because not all the money will stay on the same family. For example,
no, wait. I'm asking an advantage of eliminating the tax. You're now defending the tax.
Oh, no. Sorry, I was confused.
We'll get to that soon, right? Then we'll get to negatives. So the proposal is to get rid of this tax. This tax already exists in Mexico. The proposal is to get rid of the tax. Let's first talk about positives and then talk about negatives. So what would be a good outcome of eliminating the tax?
Maybe just for I'm sorry for the family, could be like they'll be happy and they'll say like, well, I make this money, I want to have it, like I want that my kids have it all, so why would you like take my money that I work for? And yeah, I think that, but from the perspective of the rich people that would be benefiting by this, but yeah.
Okay. Mr. Diego, Marcelo.
Yeah, from a pragmatic point of view, I think the party or the politician or the administration will gain the political benefit, or the political how do you say apoyo? Yeah, they will gain the like support from the wealthy people and the high class people.
Okay, so you think there's a power advantage to eliminating such a tax? Okay. Sophia, what did you think of?
Well, Well, I believe that people will have first more money, and if you have more money, you can buy more things, and maybe prices, like maybe because people have the condition to buy uh, more higher prices, the prices will go up, you know. So it also could be a gain for the like the firms, like the business. But I do believe that it depends of how many, like how actually like what is the actual quantity of the tax, like how much is it.
It's I don't know exactly, but it's around 20 or 25%. It's substantial. Um, okay, so you're saying there would be an economic benefit to eliminating this tax because you would have increased investment power of wealthy families after someone dies. Okay, so we have, yes, Mariana, you wanted to add?
Like the trickle down economics, the wealth is going to distribute down.
Okay, so you're saying that if we would let inheritance be unhindered, that society would benefit anyway? How would that work?
Like what they say that if the rich have a lot of power, supposedly the money is going to flow and everything. I know it's not true, but maybe that could be an argument.
That's a very neoliberal idea indeed. Okay, so those are some. I see you guys are trying hard. This is my most popular proposal, so we'll see about the others. But okay, so there should be certain economic benefits, and it is better for the people. You could add to that you would have less government intervention, and that would be a good thing in itself from a conservative point of view. That they just let people be. They would call this the death tax, is what Trump called it, which makes rhetorical sense, right? Dying costs money. Apparently, that's a bad thing. Now, what would be the disadvantages of eliminating this tax? Diego was starting to say something about this at the beginning, Mr. Martinez. So, what would be the disadvantage of eliminating this tax? Hello? I don't hear you. And that is mainly because you muted yourself. Anyway, what would be anyone then? What would be the disadvantage of eliminating the estate tax?
Well, those taxes won't be used on the making of a political policy or infrastructure for the benefit of all the community.
Okay.
In any case, I don't know if this tax is like local or federal.
I do not know that either. If it's a state or a federal tax. In the US, it's a federal tax. In Mexico, that I don't know if that is a state thing. So you're saying that if you would eliminate the tax, you have less resources to spend on other things, right? What else would be a negative side of this?
Well, inequality will also increase because like it's pretty known that always there are a few that have too many money and there are a majority who doesn't. So if you take it off, no, if you keep it, it will well, at least not increase. I mean, well, I think that is an advantage. No. Well, yeah. The point is that maybe inequality will not increase.
Yes. Okay. So if you would allow this to happen, then you would keep adding to the generational accumulation of inequality in the country, right? which happens anyway because it's still, it's just the tax. It doesn't stop it. But yes, it would further add to that. Mariana, you wanted to add something? No, I'm sorry for forcing you to talk so much. You're used to me talking all the time, and that is easier. But today we're trying something different.
Well, it's like I was thinking is like disadvantage, but like okay, disadvantage that come from that could be. It's like I was going to say that it is good if you use the tax to make a social program, but that's not the case. Like this is like like the other way around. But yeah, something bad that could happen if this get approved would be yeah, that you keep the elite power, the elite class there, and you just don't do anything.
So one of the main arguments against inheritance, which is a very old argument, is that, and this actually comes from a capitalist point of view, but from a pure, like an actual, like consistent liberal point of view, not the corrupt liberal point of view, is that inheritance basically corrupts capitalism, right? The idea in capitalism is that you work and you get, in meritocracy, is that you work and you get rewarded for what you do. That does not work with inheritance. Inheritance skews up the whole competition because there is no competition. You don't start at the same starting point, right? People start at various starting points. So the whole game, the whole monopoly game, is wrong since the beginning, right? It's like if we start Monopoly and you already own half the board, I'm probably not going to beat you, right? Even no matter how good I roll the dice. So from a theoretical, at least, liberal point of view, you could say that inheritance hinders capitalism in a way. It doesn't in practice, because you accumulate capital that you can use to invest, right? But it hinders moral grounds, it hinders meritocracy. It's one reason why some people would be against inheritance, which is, of course, a quite radical position. All right, let's move on from this, right?
Teacher,
Diego,
I
you want
want
to add something?
to say something. You
Yes,
can hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. When making the last semester PIA of History of Political Thought, we made an essay about capitalism, and while reading, I found an article that said that Bill Gates, his two sons and his daughter, they could spend $1 million every day for the rest of their lives, and they wouldn't consume all the money from his parent, and that is ridiculous. That cannot happen, I think.
Well, it probably will happen, but yeah, that is true. You get some, and Bill Gates is not even the richest, right? My favorite example here is Bezos, who earns $200,000 per minute, which always stresses me because I'm thinking about how much money am I making this minute? Maybe not even 1 peso. Like I really have to catch up. I am earning 1 peso per minute, just over 1 peso per minute, I think. Am I? Yes. So I still have to catch up with him though on that one. Let's move on to the next one. This is one that's more social. This is more of the social conservatism. And it's about subsidies for family growth. Is the idea that you would, since none of you youngsters want to have children, that you have to subsidize the people who do want to have children. This is a very common policy in Europe, introduced by socialists. In Belgium, you have this. But in the United States, it doesn't exist. And in Mexico, it doesn't exist in a direct way. You have subsidies for young mothers, and you have subsidies for school-going children that AMLO introduced. But this is a plain subsidy just for having the child. Now, I'm not going to explain this myself. I want to show you somebody who defends this or who's going to explain this policy. This is Sagar from The Hill. I don't know if you, that's not his name is Sagar, not from The Hill. But this is from an American political show called The Hill. I don't know if you know that. If you follow any US news, you have different channels you could follow. The Hill, I think, is one of the most mature ones. So, and their concept is they have a conservative and a progressive as hosts. What they have in common is that they're both populist. They're both, let's say, working class oriented. But they constantly debate each other on other issues. And this is the conservative guy, Sagar. And this is a stupid ad, but something I don't need. Thank you. Let's see. You can't hear him, right? You just see image?
No, we can hear it.
You can or you cannot?
Cannot.
Cannot. Okay. How do I know there is a button that will do this. Ah, there we go. Now we go back to this.
With a widely held feeling among the American electorate
Do you hear
that he
him?
was out of touch and didn't care about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Do anything to ameliorate their tremendous suffering wrought by the Great Recession of 2008. Today, Mitt Romney just proposed, arguably, one of the most expansionary and important fiscal programs of the last decade, a stunning development which roils the battle for the future of the right, and it exposes some actually key fractures of everybody. So let me lay it all out for you. It can seem a bit complicated, but it's pretty simple. Instead of the absolute mess of programs that we have right now, which have failed at combating child poverty and boosting our fertility rate, Romney proposes the following: $350 a month to families with kids under 5, $250 a month for kids up to 17, with any family maxing out at $1,250 a month. So, even better, in my opinion, it would offer $1,400 to anybody who has a child on the way. It's offering key cash up front for expensive baby supplies, and the plan caps out at a single parent making $200K, families making more than $400. So the plan would almost single-handedly cut child poverty in the United States to the lowest level in decades. It would simplify our arcane and insane system right now, which right and left both hate. The left hates it because it excludes the lowest income parents who don't work, and the right hates it because it's a mess of administration, and it clearly is not working to boost America's burgeoning fertility crisis. That last part is bound to rankle some people. In fact, when I praised this publicly, I was hit with unsurprisingly skeptical takes around why do we even need more kids in the first place? Why should we pay people to have kids? Do we even want more kids? Doesn't this discriminate against people who don't have kids? The answer to the last question is yes. Frankly, I'm okay with that. That's probably why I've never been for a universal basic income, and instead have always favored policies like this. And it also answers a lot of questions that some of you level at me all the time. What exactly makes you conservative, Sagar? You're looking at it right here. So I don't think government policy or our culture should be centered around maximizing individual liberty and choice. I think it should be centered around making it easy as possible to fulfill the most basic task of a civilization, which is replacing itself and producing prosperity for the current and future generation. Nothing about our consumerist culture of today is maximizing these goals. It is the opposite of conservative, when your supposedly free trade and markets have created a culture where it's cheaper to eat crappy food, buy plastic stuff, and watch TV every day rather than have children and get married. As I've said repeatedly in recent days, people don't even want to watch TV all day or just buy stuff. They're simply responding to the incentives within the economic system. As journalist Matt Iglesias has shown repeatedly, surveys of Americans show that they want 2.5 kids on average, but in practice have far fewer, only 1.72 in 2018. That's a huge gap, and it requires for us to think a little bit. People want more kids but aren't having them. Well, clearly, it's too hard to have kids. What's the barrier to kids in our culture? It's money. It's cost of having a child. It's healthcare, all the externalities, having to leave your job, stuff like that. So the solution is simple. Make it more economically viable to have children. It's the simplest solution on the planet, which many people on the reformist right have actually identified now for nearly a decade. And yet somehow the guy whose defeat and terrible policy ideas in 2012 who sparked this movement is the person who seems to have embraced it. Ironically, however, the plan itself is now being cut from the right and left in some
All right, we're gonna stop him here because he kind of defended what he had to do. He defended his plan. All right. So, what would be the advantages of what he just proposed?
So you would have the more generations that work, and then your pension is going to be covered, something like that. And yeah, you are going to have more people for the future, and I think it's okay, like it's necessary in the society that we live in, because as he says, it's expensive to have a kid, and if you are going to have a kid, the love doesn't solve everything. You need real things to put your children in like a good school, give them food, take care of them, and yeah, I think it's a great policy. And yeah, because people want to have kids, but they don't have the money. They need to wait to make savings and then do it, and then it's late. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. What would be another? So we have the it would boost population. What would be another advantage of this?
I identified three. That first, I don't know if it in the strict sense, but it could deal with economic violence. Like too many, especially mothers, don't leave their houses because of economic resource, and they accept some kind of domestic violence. So if they do have this money for their children, of knowing that they will be okay with or without the father, and in better conditions that are not of violence, like it could have a great impact. Second one is, of course, you will have later on more workforce. And if you have more workforce, well, you can produce more, and the people will get more rich. Also, because there are too many people, the salaries could go lower in the future. But yeah, workforce. And the third one is that if families have more money for their children, they will access to better conditions, and in that better conditions could be like getting into a kind of good school, and maybe have some social mobility that could lead them to, I don't know, to get into a university. And like what state doesn't want more prepared people for work?
Okay. Any other positives of this policy?
Yeah, I think it's a good policy because, well, right now my mom had a baby 2 years ago. She's now 2 years, and my sister, and that changed your lifestyle completely. Now we do what the baby says, and it's a lot that will change your life, and the baby needs a lot of care. Diapers and towels and milk.
I know.
And yeah, it's it's amazing the amount of diapers you throw every day, and well, it's a lot of money, and I think that help will be great for some families.
Okay. Good. That's true. Anything else on positives? I can add myself, because this is one that comes into my own field of expertise of poverty reduction. This, whether it's good or not, because we still have to talk about negatives. What I can say for it will be effective. This will reduce poverty. and it is more effective than other things for two reasons. One is the cash transfer. Cash transfers are the most direct thing you could do to reduce poverty. Second, it's an unconditional cash transfer. It's conditional on having children, but it's not conditional on anything you do. So you don't need to work to get this, which is really important because it means that you don't lose it if you do start working, right? If it was just limited to only poor, miserable people, it could make you stop. It could make you stop aspiring more. But now, if you do get social mobility and you do get a better job, you won't lose this. So it doesn't discourage anyone from upward social mobility. Well, if it was strictly linked to, let's say, you living in absolute miserable conditions and only then you could get this support, they could give you an incentive to stay in those conditions. Since this is unconditional, it would encourage working mothers, basically. So, and they could afford childcare, which then could allow them to work, etc., etc. So it would definitely be effective. Now let's talk about the negatives, though. What do you think could be the weaknesses or the dangers of such a plan?
Well, it's obvious that a lot of people will abuse from this policy, I think.
How?
If they give you money from having children, I don't know, it's probably that maybe a lot of people abuse like having a lot of children and you're not taking care of them.
Okay. That's a conservative objection against a conservative point.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, okay, that could be an argument, yes. By the way, I want to quickly comment on this. What you said is a great myth in Mexican politics. The idea that people have children to get money, right? The funny thing is, there has never been a program that gives you money for having children. Calderon did something only on the countryside. You would get like 400 pesos per child. So I don't think you have, with diapers, that doesn't cut it, right? And he did it for 2 years, then he quit it. But that's, to my knowledge, that's the only program that ever existed. So a lot of Mexicans are convinced people have children, so the government would give them money, even if that doesn't even exist. That's an American thing that they heard on TV, and they think that Mexico does it too. And you have this whole fantasy that exists on the right, but there is no reality to it. But yeah, that could happen if you would do it. What else would be a negative of boosting families, Ms. Sophia?
Maybe business could lower salaries because you already have
Okay,
like this support.
that's an
So
interesting one.
so yeah, that's it.
Okay. That's maybe why they're proposing it secretly, these conservatives. Mr. Diego, you're muted. You're still muted. Okay, I hear you now. Yes.
A conservative will say that this will make poor people specifically lazy. It's a common argument because the government is giving you money and you won't work, and where's the merit? That's
Okay. Yeah, that could happen. Because it's very generous what he's proposing. Ms. Mariana.
Okay, so suppose that we have an area that has a lot of houses and a lot of people, no? And now you
city.
yes. And then you incentivize them to have more children, and they have more children, but there's not enough jobs for those children, or maybe there are not enough schools there, and now you have more people. That could be, I don't know, but that could.
Yes. Okay. You could make the argument that that we don't need more workforce, right? Okay. Any other things? I didn't hear the environmental argument against this yet. So There's no
It's
no
because
transhumanists here, or what?
that's ecofascism. I don't like that.
Well, yes, but that's an opinion too that one could have, right?
Yeah, and well, that's true because one of the biggest like brainwash is that if you have kids, you kill the environment, but actually, who kills the environment is the big industries. So it's again putting the responsibility under the individual. So
Yes, but you
that
could do that. I mean, that's an argument we could make, right? All right. So this proposal is a bit more popular. I tend to understand. Now let's get to the funny one. We have to talk about it. It's inspired by Sophia's rant of last time. So,
Sure. We just to finish the last slide.
yes,
That that policy will benefit countries like China, no? That right now they are leak of children.
um, I don't know if they want more children. It would benefit countries like Japan. Japan, because China has a large population, right? And yes, they have a problem with their one-child policy. They had the opposite in the past. So maybe, I don't know that. I do know for Japan and Korea are both countries where young people, I don't know, they're very different than young people in previous generations. And they either don't want to have children or they can't. And I know Japan especially, they have to organize like the festival of fertility, and today you should have sex, and kind of like nationally organize this. So for them, yes. With China, I don't.
Yeah, I was watching a video that it said that right now there are more elder people than young people. For example, in Mexico, we have more young people,
Yes.
and the government was like, um, como, what do you say, impulsando, like people that to have dates and to meet, you know, to men meet women and women meet men, to get engaged. It's kind
Yes.
of funny.
Also, the serious thing here, if you talk about conservative point of view, right? The alternative to this is to have migration. Everybody wants to go to Japan, right? And Japan very clearly doesn't want you. They're very kind of open in the fact that they don't want non-Asians. So they would have to change that then, right? If you don't have children, you need immigrants. And that would lead to more conservative problems that they would have. But anyway, we're going to Samuel here and his frustration at too much lags that are shown on the internet. What's more, right? I know it's a very broad topic of regulating pornography. I again will go immediately to my friend Sagar that I just showed you. He has another rant on this, a shorter one. I'll just show this for 2 minutes because his rant is about something slightly different. But let me share content. There we go. Okay.
Quote, the children of Pornhub. Christoph's piece lays out in detail how Pornhub, which is the most popular internet pornography site, is, quote, infested with rape videos, monetizes child rape, revenge pornography, spy cam videos of women showering, racist, misogynistic content, and footage of women being asphyxiated in plastic bags. Christoph shows that a search of, quote, girls under 18, aka child porn, on the website yields 100,000 videos. And worse, Christoph notes that, quote, neither Pornhub nor anyone else has a clear idea of how much of their content is illegal. That's right, on their own website. More, they allow videos to be downloaded directly from their website so that in the case that authorities determine that a video or content might be illegal, it's already too late because it exists on somebody else's computer and can be widely distributed. One study cited by Christoph actually notes that Pornhub is the third most influential company on the entire web, more so than Microsoft and Apple and Amazon, behind only Facebook and Google. Think about that. And how much do you even talk about it? Not at all. The only people who are some fringe people like me, a few Republican lawmakers here or there, and some conservative activists who have ruthlessly followed the company for years, calling out their behavior to no avail whatsoever. And here's the truth. Pornhub or society never cared, not once. All Christoph really did here is...
Right, I'm going to stop him here because his rant really is about something else. But let me stop sharing. Okay. So I don't want to have a discussion if porn should exist or not, because that's a way more awkward discussion than the one I want to have with you, dear students. But it's about regulation, right? So it's about that you could have, well, two professional adults doing acrobatics, but nothing else. So that should be in a clearly sexual context of a bedroom or whatever, couch, whatever thing they want, but not fetishes, not with people pretending to be underage or actually being underage, not any type of non-heterosexual or gay interaction, no animals, no whatever weirdness there would be, no either real rape or pretending rape or whatever, right? That it should be regulated to, well, whatever would still go as normal. I know this is a very subjective discussion, right? And not allowing downloads of things, not allowing individuals to upload things, footage of their ex-girlfriend showering or whatever it is, right? So that would be, okay, there's not a clear policy plan, right? But let's go in that direction. It doesn't really matter exactly where the edges are of this discussion. What do you think would be advantages of regulating it? So ending free speech basically for porn and putting certain state-imposed guidelines of what type of content would be allowed. What would be an advantage of that? Mr. Diego.
Well, an advantage. Well, I think that regulating pornography it's necessary and it needs to be stopped. You know, a lot of people from the videos are getting harmed. People that watch pornography gets harmed too. They fill your head with garbage. And the worst part is that pornography is too easy to access. You know, like right now I could type and I will access to millions of hours of content. So I think that it's necessary and it will help society to get well, you need to regulate pornography and also give people access to a better sexual education.
Okay, so we have many things in there, right? You have one part that you said is about the people getting hurt. You have one part that is about that you seem to indicate that this would have bad consequences for the viewers, as it would skew their own sexual life in a way, or at least their consciousness. And the third one was, I forgot it now. What was the last point you made?
The easy access.
Okay, yes. All right. So the three things. Marianne, you wanted to add something here.
Okay. The first thing is that you need to stop having free access to see rape on the internet, and also it normalizes seeing that, and that I think that's the main point. Like everything is secondary, but yes, it is actually, you can be addictive to porn, and like that's a real issue. And well, I want to ask,
but that won't be stopped by this necessarily, right? It's not abolishing, it's regulating. So you, okay, so you the rape thing, and do you think that would, now we're going to the part of opinion, do you think that would have any social impact? Like do you think you would see less sexual violence if there was less sexual violence in the culture?
Yes. Yes, because some parts of the internet where I've seen that stop pornography, there are a lot of comments defending porn, and and the mind of these people is already damaged, and they go from bad to worse. And like in those sites, you start with a normal video, and then you end up really gone. And yes, well, but I want to ask: is this regulation about just having heterosexual relations?
No, I said, but there is no regulation, right? He just talking about it. What I said is no, but it should only be heterosexual or straight. Heterosexual, that's the same thing. No, heterosexual or gay, but
Oh,
not introducing, I don't know, animals into this or whatever weird people would do, or not introducing. I don't know. I don't know what other types of sexuality there are. I haven't seen it, but I imagine there's all kind of weird things out there with robots. I don't know what else people would do. Sophia, you want to add something? In the meanwhile, I'll propagate my own website and my own article on this. Yes.
Well, I don't feel that it's totally an advantage, but you reduce the risk of getting nudes of underage girls. Like you don't have, like you reduce the risk of getting your own videos on some porn site. So that's great. Uh, and also, as Mariana said, I think that also if you don't have too many fetish content, you will teach people how sex actually is, you know, because many people think that sex is rape and getting, and you know, that kind of thing, that violence, and it's actually not, it's supposed to not. So I think that it will have that impact, that if even if you get addicted to sex, at least you're having a real image of what it actually is.
Okay. Now let's talk to, or Diego, you want to add something to this? Or you want to go to disadvantages of doing this?
No, I will add two advantages.
Okay.
Because I think it can like be a solution in the part of how porn impacts the gender expectations of men in regarding their performance in the sexual act, because as you know, well, these movies like make like so many expectations around, yeah, you know, all the things, timing, forms, ways, places, I don't know, and these do impact in masculinity.
Okay. Yes. My son is protesting strongly, but I don't know against what. Maybe this proposal. So what then would be the negatives of regulating this? And again, you have to make the thought exercise.
Okay, I think that one of the main disadvantages is that if you have an industry, uh, most of the people that access to pornography and even prostitution comes from really vulnerable places. Like okay, they're not underage, but they are in situations of rejection because of their gender, race, because they are from another city, because they are poor people. And so sex as a woman, well, I actually identify pornography as a male right. Like that's it. It's about the consumption of the male, of the female body. So if you regulate, it will be kind of formalized. So it will be a job, and because more people will be consuming it, more
But now
women
we're
should be
talking. Okay.
needed to get into that pornography, you know. And I think that we must look to fight that women are not, like, women should not make more money showing showing their body than in an 8-hour job. You know, like it will increase the demand and it will be really dangerous for the vulnerable women, for the working class women. And also, I don't know how much, how it will really regulate the industry, because even if you regulate pornography and what you can upload, uh, maybe the industry that makes the porn doesn't give the laboral rights to their porn stars, because I was reading that.
But now you're again, I don't know if you're making a case
No,
for this,
I'm against. I'm against, like,
but that's not
because
what I'm asking.
what are you asking?
I'm asking about advantages, disadvantages of regulation.
I thought that we were changing about.
Yes, we are. So first I was asking about why regulation is a good idea, and you answered to that.
Yes,
And now I'm
and now
asking
it's
why it
a
is a
bad
bad
idea
idea. Yes.
because it will vulnerable more poor women.
So do you think it would make an economic impact that there's a certain market
Of
demand?
course, more women will go and have sex on their camera, like the sugar dating, because I can make more
And that's
money. I will be
okay.
obviously, as a female, like looking for respect and letting and stopping seeing the female body as something to consume.
But
That's
you're
the
you're not
perspective.
okay. You're not arguing for what I ask. You're giving another reason why we should regulate it, right?
No, because if no, well, it can be. Not I say that maybe, but my point is, if you regulate it, it creates a workspace, and that workspace will be filled by women that are in dangerous
Okay.
conditions.
Yeah, okay. Mariana, what did you want to add?
Is that it's like when we were discussing social democracy that is the transition to abolish, for example, capitalism. But if you don't do it fast enough, you are going to get back to capitalism. So I think if you regulate this as the final result, you are going to then get back to, like, you are going to have demand, and then people with the years are going to expect more things, and like you're going to get back to the problem.
Okay, but we're talking about if the alternative is no regulation at all. So it's either regulation or no regulation, right? What would be the advantage of having no regulation, or what? This is not kind of a okay. I'm looking for things, for example, like freedom of speech, which you could defend, right? I'm not asking your opinion. Remember that. I'm asking what if you, gun to the head, had to defend this, right? They kidnap your little brother, and you have to defend this in the Senate. Like, what would you say? How we would defend not having regulation? Sophia left out of protest to my objections. This is problematic. Diego, you can fill the awkward space by saying something.
Okay, I will take this concept that it's around the marijuana regulation, that is free development of personality. I think it will be like, could be a defending argument of not regulation, and I don't know, because that people will say don't regulate because people have the right to see what they want. It's free market. Mm, I don't know. Maybe the investment will be reduced in that market. I'm not very sure.
Okay.
Maybe if these, like, maybe people with fetishes would be like, I want to be represented as well.
Yes.
Or like, I don't know, maybe trans people are going to be like, okay, I want to representation, but other people are going to be like, no, that's a fetish, and oh, I don't want my kids to do that. Like, it comes with more problems. then that to what is regulated and what is not, and what is a sexual relation and what is not, and maybe.
Yeah, you could make indeed the consistency argument that if you would want allow men to pretend to be women, then you can also, by that same rule, you should allow other types of sexuality. If you would make that argument. But okay, since this is a kind of fundamentally awkward subject, we will move on to the next one. I do sense that you are in favor of this. So far it's 2-1 for conservatism, by the way. Conservatism is winning in this discussion. Haha, you didn't see that coming. But maybe there's a chance to make it equal. So now let's get to an actual true conservative position of the power conservatism and of the social conservatism, which is increasing prison rates for small crimes. This is based on the California 3 strikes law of 95, I think. What did this do? And I think Mexico Libre is also for this, if I remember correctly. So what does this do? This increases prison rates for small crime. So small crime is possession of marijuana, for example, stealing from OXXO, and walking on people's property, right? Trespassing, somebody being in your backyard. That should yield longer minimum sentences. So we're talking years, let's say 5 years for one of these things in prison. And if you committed 3 times, if you have 3 crime convictions of any type, you will get life imprisonment. So you get, as the count says, right? 3, well, it's 4, but we have to discount this stump. You get 3 chances at freedom. And if you, after being to prison twice, still steal something, it's the end for you. There's an actually existing legal framework that they had in California, and some people would argue for this in Mexico as well. So what would be the advantages of increasing prison rates on small crime from a conservative point of view?
People could say that this will disincentivize how do you say delincuentes?
Mm-hmm.
Well, delincuentes or yeah, narcotraffic to still doing their work, and yeah, that thing, that this disincentivation.
Okay. It could stop crime. It could prevent crime. Is the idea.
Supposedly.
Okay. Anybody else has an argument for the count?
Also, it will increase the sense of security because it's more. There are more probabilities to get into prison. More people will be more cautious about what they're doing.
Yes. Okay. So you would feel safer knowing that the people who stole your bubulubu will get punished more seriously. And what could be another advantage of such a law?
Maybe that you are not going to have, like, if you have them in prison, you don't have it stealing things in Soriana. And yeah, you relocate people to prison now, so you don't have to see poor people in the streets.
Yes, so the undesirable elements of society would be kept out of society, making things safer.
Doctor,
okay.
Maybe like it could be really weird, but maybe people that is living in a situación de calle, like the people that live in the street, they could commit a crime in order to get into a prison and actually being taken care of. Like,
okay, so it offers upward social mobility for the homeless.
Yeah, it will be cool.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Depends a lot on the prisons. I don't know in Mexico this is true, but in the United States it definitely could. Um, any other advantages to increasing prison rates?
That you will clean the streets and the city, the communities from bad people, because as long as they do a little thing, bad thing, you take them to jail.
Yes, and you could add that maybe you'd have an economic advantage from having reduced thefts and also from having prisoners to work in prison for free, which is the case, which is the reason why this law really exists, or at least that's the sociological analysis. This law, and in reality, this law was pushed by the prisons themselves, who wanted more people, because they would then get subsidies and they would then use those prisoners to work in a call center inside prison, which would then generate income for them. Now, what would be the disadvantages of doing this fine proposal?
One of the disadvantages will be that this idea of social reinsertion in prisons doesn't actually does what it has to do. Like here in Mexico, it's really terrible. Like it doesn't exist, so it only increase the vulnerability of the prisoner when it gets out of the prison. So in prison, you're supposed to have education and learn about work. But the truth and the data is that when they go out, they are homeless. Because they do not get the drug treatment. They get a gang addict or that kind of stuff. Like it does not solve the problem. It does not solve the situation that the people who commit the crime were at the first place. And also, I believe that one of the disadvantages is that it's too many money. Like a prisoner costs here in Mexico, I believe like 100,000 pesos. So that's a lot. And I think that we must use our money in better ways than in punish people.
Okay, so we have two important arguments. The first one you made is that if people get too easily into prison, rehabilitation would be harder. And the second is a very important one is the economic cost, right? Imprisoning people costs money. It's like paying them a hotel and especially for life, right? That's an eternal cost that you never get rid of unless they die. Any other reasons why this might be a bad idea?
Okay, so one teacher told us that prisons want to be privatized, so then you have free and cheap labor force. So I think that's problematic. And what else? Yeah, you put a lot of focus on small crime rooted in necessity, when other people out there are making huge crimes and corruption and that kind of stuff. So we need to guide the attention to the other side. Like if you commit a horrible crime, we need to regulate those huge crimes instead of the little ones. Like it doesn't make sense to focus a lot in small crime for me.
Would you say it's classist?
Yes. Yes, it's classist.
Okay. Anything else? Are you in general in favor of this type of things?
Yeah, another thing that is related to money is what you said that on one point, prisoners cost money, and if they stole an OXXO or something like that, it's like the thing you stole is you're gonna pay a lot of more for what you did. I think it's not completely fair.
Okay. Diego, you want to add to this? Then we get to Sophia.
No, another point. I would say that in this case, you will fulfill prisons of people from low class, because are the people that are used to, or because of their conditions, they gotta do some crimes. And second, I would say that there is this concept of punitive populism, that is used to pretend that you are fighting crime, but you are just jailing people that commit like stupid crimes, or what is considered a crime.
So they would be used kind of as the scapegoat for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Calderon did that.
Yeah, we had some changes in the policy. Sophia, you have the last word. You have this honor.
Yes, it's just my humble opinion, but I do believe that these kind of policies are really, they're not on the right direction, because what they must do is like think about the, for example, the family of the prisoner, like, because it also, the data states that if you are a child of a prisoner, you have more risk to get on prison. So because you don't have a father or a mother, you are alone, and it's more easy for you to get into drugs and kind of another crimes. So what we must be asking ourselves is, what are we going to do with that? And also, like, where are the prisoners are going to live when when they go out of prison? Like, are they, because most of them will end up homeless, and also think about their mental health, because also the data states that even if you are antisocial before prison, after prison your head is all messed up and you get really bad. So that's the true things that will be making our society more secure, because our individuals will be okay and not like it, that will make more secure, more safety or community, and it will increase this punishment idea and revenge, that actually prison is just revenge, that if you kill someone or if you sell drugs, you must burn in hell. And I don't justify their actions, but that's not the point, because if we have prisons, it's because we believe that they can they can go to a rehabilitation process, because if you do not believe them, well, just kill them, you know.
I think it's much better. Bronco's proposal to cut the hand off it is, and also a good Islamic tradition of doing that. Mariana, although I said Sophia had the last word, I do have a few more words left for you. Yes.
I think it's going to be easier to falsely accuse people of this crime, and then you can have like false accusations to get rid of some people. And
so you
also
have revenge on your ex. I say he walked in your backyard without permission and it's gone.
And I wanted to ask if penalty death is a conservative thing.
Yes.
Or yes? Okay.
It is. It depends a bit which. You have certain conservative groups who think that more religious groups that would say that it's not unto humans to decide life or death. So they would be against this, because they would see the "you shall not kill" as an absolute commandment, and therefore not. But most power conservatives are definitely for death penalty, because it makes it easier to get rid of people. There's certain crimes that you could also morally just make the case for, that people would be better off dead. Like there's once a kid that killed 200 people in Mexico. He was a torturer, I think, for Sinaloa cartel, and he killed 200 people at age 14. He tortured them to death. You could make the argument that there's not much point in keeping him alive. That would be a conservative point to make. Now, all right, so at the end of the day, from what I gauge from your average opinion, it's 2-2, surprisingly high score for conservatism. So it shows you a bit that this is a kind of broad thing, right? You get all kind of things from a conservative perspective. Did you like this exercise? Just like a new thing I'm trying.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yes, a lot.
Okay. Good. Well, then we did that. It's a good exercise to get your mind a bit away from your own opinion, which we need to do, because you need to also anticipate arguments from the other side, right? The easiest way to do that is to think, what if I was them? What would I say? All right. That's that for this week. I will see you next week. Read my blog and stay healthy, right? Those are my two tips for you. All right, take care and find Hugo wherever he is.
Yes, we
Yeah.
will.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Alright.
Have a good
Thanks,
See
weekend.
Day.
you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.